really awesome Slender is that because of delayed starts with the streaming, the YouTubes didn't even notice my blunder.
Yeah, they did. I was watching it on the other side, and it
Dang it.
showed.
Well, on mine it didn't.
And all I'm gonna say is, when you told me you were gonna try something different, I didn't think what you meant was you were going to use the stock countdown that Mr. Grant Gregory made so much fun of us for the last time.
Well, if Grant's not here, it didn't happen. I mean, and we managed to get to our YouTuber opening with plenty of time. So obviously we're in rare form tonight at the Ascendant Art Podcast. Hello, I'm little Chad, joined as always by Slender Dad. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well.
Awesome. And this week we got some fun stuff to talk about because I went and saw Cocaine Bear last night. Movie Pass 2.0 continues to do its job, which is great. And then I'll be kind of going over a review of the movie and kind of talking about what you should expect and if you're going to see Cocaine Bear. I keep just saying the title is.
I mean, it's a fantastic title, if nothing else.
I feel like the title is what got the movie made. I mean, no lie on that one. And I'm going to be honest, I haven't looked it up yet, but there must be some kind of connection to The Americans, the TV show, because Carrie Russell's the lead. Her husband, in real life, who played her husband on The Americans, is also in the movie. One of the other female leads was also the one of the handlers, the Russian handlers on The Americans. It's the connections go deep on this movie. Wasn't the director though, because that was Elizabeth Banks of Charlie's Angels and Pitch Perfect fame. You'll be pleased to know there really wasn't anything agenda that I could pick up at all in the movie. So she kind of moved on from that whole deal.
I mean, Cocaine Bear doesn't give a shit about your agenda.
Cocaine Bear just wants cocaine. That was all Cocaine Bear wanted. Just a little coke. So, but it was a good movie. It was exactly what it was meant to be. And I don't
As
have any
advertised.
problems. Yeah, I don't have any problem when a movie says what it is and is what it says and doesn't try to subvert my expectations. This is a good example of just delivering exactly what the audience expectation would be for Cocaine Bear. Did you have any inclination to go see it? Like when you saw the trailer, what did you think?
I mean, one, I heard Cocaine Bear and I was immediately interested. The trailer, I don't remember if I actually watched the trailer. The only thing I was concerned with is how gory was it? Because super gore is not really my thing, but I have trouble determining what people classify as gory these days, because apparently like things that I thought were great, like Violent Night, are too gory for people. And I didn't think Violent Night was that gory.
I agree that I don't think Violent Night was gory. It had violence. I mean, I think some people get a little soft with what they consider gory when it's just what would be the right term, graphic violence.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, look, if you take a sledgehammer to a person, it's going to be a violent end. I don't know how else to say that.
If you stab someone with an icicle, they will bleed.
They'll bleed their own blood.
Yeah.
Let's see. And so graphic violence versus gore. So to me, gore is like Saw movies with torture porn.
Yeah, where
That's
there's
where
like copious amounts of blood. Oftentimes you'll see intestines and innards and grossness all over the place.
Yep. So under that definition, then yeah, I will say this: Cocaine Bear has both graphic violence and gore. Where
Like gratuitous gore.
s- sometimes, and it's almost done in it's done in the service of the story and or humor, depending on the situation.
Right.
And but it is something where if you've ever watched a Saw movie and been uncomfortable with some of the like displays of the violence and the
Yes.
results of that violence, there's going to be one or two scenes in Cocaine Bear that might be that be that level for you.
Might be a little much.
Yeah, but it's also sometimes when it's done in the context of like this is dark humor. It's a black comedy. To me, I would class Cocaine Bear as clearly a black comedy, and
Okay.
because it's all done for humor. Like I didn't laugh out loud at any point during the movie, but I did like chuckle and find it humorous and enjoyable.
All right.
So, which is what I expected. I expected this movie to be a darkly comedic horror kind of not horror but violent movie.
I
Which
will say the comedy does somewhat offset the uncomfortable nature of the gore, in my opinion. So if it is presented in a comedic nature, that helps. Um,
Mhm.
also,
and
this
it does.
this cover is amazing,
And the poster, yeah.
yeah. And the inspired by true events. I'm gonna say probably
Loosely,
really loosely, because if I remember correctly, the bear that got into all the cocaine died like
fairly quickly. Yeah, it
very
was.
quickly.
It was a very quick kind of end to that bear.
Which bugged the like, I guess I'm glad they said inspired by true events, but do you remember Perfect Storm?
Yeah, that one was
How they said it was based on a true story, and then
in the
I'm like,
fact that they used the names of the sailors who were on the boat that disappeared.
yeah,
So
and like the whole story is the story of what happened to these sailors on this boat, and I'm like, how the fuck do you know that? They're all dead. Like none of them survive.
did you ever see Clue from the 1980s?
I did.
You remember at the end where when it aired on TV, because when I went to the theaters, they had different endings, and by the time it
Yeah, I
got
never saw it in the
consolidated,
theaters. I saw it on TV.
yeah, the home video and TV release where it was like, this is how it could have happened, or this is how it could have happened, but here's what really happened.
Yeah.
So when they made The Perfect Storm, or whenever they do a movie that's inspired by true events, it's kind of they should put inspired by true events and then in parentheses, this is what maybe could have happened. Because
Well,
it's
and that's the thing is they didn't even say that was before the, the specificity of the language was enforced, but they said based on a true story. And I'm like, yeah, in the loosest sense of the words, yes, you based it on a true story. But you have no idea what happened on that boat, and your entire story was based on what happened on that boat.
and I actually enjoy The Perfect Storm. I think it's a pretty decent movie, at least to when
I'd
it
say it
came
was a
out.
good movie. I was just pissed off that they said it was based on a true story, and then I'm like, wait, nobody survived. So how do they know? Like, how do they have any idea what took place on that boat?
Yeah, they would have been much better off with the tagline that's on Cocaine Bear, which is
Inspired by,
inspired by
yes,
inspired by true events, which is gives you carte blanche to change what you want to change, do what you need to do, whatever.
yes. Because when you tell me based on, I assume you're doing research, you're taking notes, you're trying to, you know, tell some story in history. When you say inspired by, it could be like some dude read the article and was like, holy shit, this bear got into like 200 pounds of cocaine and died. Wouldn't it have been awesome if he just went like got totally blitzed on the cocaine and went nuts instead? Let's write a story about that.
And that is the story they wrote. So the I don't feel like I'm giving away any spoilers. It's in the trailers. The bear finds cocaine that was dropped in the woods. The bear proceeds to consume, snort, and whatever method is available to the bear
And as it appears, roll around in.
and rolls around in it. The cocaine causes the bear to go nuts and start attacking people. And it is entertaining. It lives up to exactly like this is, and I'm going to come back to it. This was a movie where it sets the expectation. It says, we are going to give you a movie about a coked out bear mauling and murdering people do it in a humorous tone. That's what it does. I can't complain about that. It's exactly what they told me it was going to be when I bought the ticket by way of Movie Pass, so I didn't actually buy the ticket. So which makes me feel better. I don't know that I would have paid full ticket price to go see this under a normal circumstance, like if I wasn't actually just using my Movie Pass points before they expired for the month. So, like, in giving my review of it, is this worth a full price admission? No. It's a matinee at best. Like if you're paying like $7-8 or less at a matinee price, depending on where you live, that's when I would go see it. I definitely wouldn't pay full price. I don't see any reason to try to see this in an IMAX or premium format theater that charges extra money. There's nothing special about how they filmed it or trying to. Sometimes I'm a fan of that premium experience for different movies. Like I get it for people who wanted to see Avatar 2 in the IMAX, digital, 3D, Dolby, Atmos, whatever. If you want to see something where they produced it to the highest quality and so you pay the extra money for that premium view, makes sense. Cocaine Bear is not that, but it's a good matinee. It is not in any way, shape, or form appropriate for kids at all, which is funny because it had two kids in it who looked like they were 14 or between the ages of 12 and 14. I can't pinpoint exactly where they would be there, but those were two of the characters. I mean, there is drug use clearly in this movie, both on human and bear. So
Dude, is that how they defeat the bear? Do they get like some guy like all hopped up on cocaine so that he can fight the bear?
That's spoilers.
Well,
I'll just say that
they're into spoiler territory, because if you want to go into spoiler territory, I do have a quick hot take. Because
what's the hot take on Cocaine Bear?
No, I have a hot take on Avatar. I think it's the single most overrated movie in the history of movies. It was kind of shit.
Does that mean Tina really liked it?
I don't know. I'm just like, you just made me think of Avatar, and like the first one, okay, the CG was really cool. I've seen that done in video games 100 times, so it wasn't special to me in the least. But the story, the story was garbage, and the characters were so exaggerated and so stupid. And
are we talking about the first Avatar or the sequel?
Either of them, to be honest. I haven't.
Did you go see the sequel?
I've only
I was about to say
clips.
you don't leave your house to go to the theater. I had to drag you out of your house to go see Sword Art. So
yeah, if I'm gonna go to the theater, I'm gonna go see something I want to see.
I had to
Avatar ain't it.
I had to act as a friggin' Uber driver for Slender so that he would actually go to the movie. He's like, "I'll go if you come get me and bring me to the theater." I was like, "All right, fine. It'll be for the show because we'll talk about Sword Art." But yeah, so no, but I'm trying to make the point about where Cocaine Bear fits in budget for movies. Like some people like going to movie theaters to see movies. for Cocaine Bear, that is a solid matinee. And if you don't want to spend money on it, I think you'll be just fine waiting for it to be on whatever streaming service it ends up. I don't even
Probably
know which
Stars.
studio. Which studio made this movie? I don't even know. Um, let's see if I do. It's Universal, so it's going to end up on Peacock
Oh.
because they're also the ones who did Megan, and Universal also did Violent Night. So they've had a solid run.
They've been doing pretty well.
Yeah, so
I think because they're not trying to play the political games. They're not trying to inject agendas into their stories. They're just trying to make fun stories.
well, all three of those movies were done on reasonable budgets with basically with marketing that told you this is what the movie's going to be, and if that's what you want, you're going to get this experience when you come watch it.
Yep.
There's nothing wrong with that at all.
8.1 million
On for just today. Well, that includes I think 2 million on the Thursday
what looks to
previews.
be a $20 million opening.
Yeah, so the movie costs $30 million, I think, on budget. So it's going to make almost all of it. Like it's going to almost equal its budget opening weekend, which generally means the movie's going to be profitable.
Yeah, it'll clear.
Yeah, so because the general rule of thumb for a movie is it needs to make 2.5 times its budget. That's because you have the budget cost, you have the marketing cost, and then you have the fact that they only get about half, 50 to 60%, depending on the region, of the ticket sales from the theater. So 2.5 times multiple to equal profitability. So at 30 million.
And I would think at a minimum opening weekend, you want to make at least half that budget back.
Yeah, so it needs to make
In
75. Yeah, 75 million worldwide. Would anything over that would be profit, roughly.
Yeah.
And then they're going to be able to put this on digital and Peacock and make money. I mean, this is the kind of movie that's going to get a lot of play on streaming. Which is
because that's where it falls into. Like, this is not a movie that I was like, I gotta get out to the theaters and see this. But this is a movie that if I see it, if it's available on a streaming service, I'm gonna watch it just because I want to see what Cocaine Bear is all about.
I think once you get around to watching it, you'll probably enjoy it. It'll be the kind of movie where you're like, I got what I wanted out of it, and I'm happy with it.
Yeah.
The same way I felt about Violent Night, which is I got exactly what I wanted by going to see it. I wanted a Santa Claus that went die hard and had a good time with it, and they did. And then they made that fun too. I haven't seen Megan yet. They did just release the unrated cut on Peacock, so maybe I'll watch it that way. But I've heard people who went and saw it who enjoyed it. We've listened. I know we watch a lot of YouTube streamers who talk a lot of stuff, and Megan was fairly well received within that community. What I can tell you that is actually not surprising, but is surprising, is the fact that Ant-Man is just collapsing.
Well,
71% drop.
I think, like we were talking about before the stream started, with the exception of Bad Take Bojan, everyone I've talked to hasn't said the movie is bad. They've just said that it's just meh. And I mean, you do not want your flagship movie leading into Phase 5 to be meh. And not only meh, but like painfully meh.
And this movie had to do a lot of lift. It had to introduce Kang in a way that made people kind of fearful of him. He's going to be the big bad guy for years to come now. And it would be like if they had whiffed on introducing Thanos. And how would things have been different if people just didn't have any thought that Thanos was actually intimidating? I still argue that Endgame was the perfect end point for lots of people, and Marvel's coming to terms with that. If you give people a place to drop out, a natural point to move on from something, a lot of people take it, and I
I
think
mean,
Marvel is going to get diminishing returns because of that.
I have not. I don't think I've really watched a whole lot of Marvel since Endgame. Like Endgame kind of wrapped it up for me.
I was a big fan of the Captain America character, the Steve Rogers character, as presented in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I thought he had a wonderful story arc from the first Avenger movie, which is actually one of the most underrated Marvel movies, First Avenger,
Mm-hmm.
all the way through to Endgame when he finally when he gets the responsibility to go back and put everything back in place in time so that nothing bad happens. And he's like, at the very end, I'm gonna take one for me, and he goes back to marry Peggy Carter, you know, and actually have the life he wanted. I'm like, you know what? He's earned it. It's like the end of Private Ryan when the guy's like, "Did I earn?" When the guy tells him, "Earn it," like, "Did I earn it?" Yeah, Captain America earned that dance. He earned having the life with Peggy. So I was really happy, and that was to me a wonderful just resolution of the whole story. Just put a bow on it. Movie, resolution done. What's the point of continuing to watch the movies? And since then, Marvel's kind of been floundering on what their storyline is, how these characters are doing. Like, what's the point? They haven't done it. And like Spider-Man: No Way Home was the best one they've done, and that was a Sony movie.
Yep. Yep. That was not Marvel Studios.
And the reason No Way Home was good was because they rolled in Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. It wasn't because of any of the Marvel stuff.
Well, and I mean, I know we harp on this point so much that the horse is well past expired and we're still beating it, but your agenda should not be the first thing. You should not go, here's my agenda. Now, how do I wrap a story around it so that I can give my agenda to everyone else? The first thing is, what's a good idea for a story? That should be front and center. It shouldn't even have anything to do with agenda. It should just be, do I have a good idea for a story? And they don't. But they certainly have, extremely charged opinions that they want to inject into their media. And those seem to be more important than telling a cool story with interesting characters and, um, engaging conflict, as it were.
Yeah, and I feel like in like group of Marvel movies, it was about the story.
Yeah, it was all
I
carefully crafted and mapped out, and like they they wanted to run that arc. Like the arc was built before anything.
People give Thor: The Dark World a lot of shit, saying it was a bad movie, and I think it wasn't the best Marvel movie, right? Clearly, but Thor: The Dark World had some really great character moments between Loki and Thor, where they advanced the relationship in the story and set up a lot of important character moments with them. Like even the bad Marvel movies had really good stuff going on inside them at that point. Now the bad Marvel movies are just bad. So
Yeah, I didn't
I'm
think Thor: The Dark World was terrible. I did. It's not going to be like one of my top Marvel movies by any stretch of the imagination, and I wouldn't even say that it was painfully meh like the newest Marvel movie, but it felt rushed. Like they were trying to put a lot in there, and they had to rush things as a result. Like that could have been broken out into two movies. Give
it
some
could have.
things some time to breathe, some time to develop.
Yeah. I mean, these they're definitely not putting. So with Ant-Man, I mean, because I've seen it, and you're not even gonna bother. It just was so boring. I've never been as bored in a Marvel movie. We talked about it. It was occurring. I was in the theater, and there was like maybe a spot or two where I was like, "Oh, this is pretty good." I mentioned that I thought Jonathan Major's performance as Kang, when they let him be the Kang as like written in the comic books, was actually pretty solid. But it was like, but when you put that into the the story that's so boring and has such bad effects, like when we looked at the Modoc, special effects and things, it was. I'm somebody I went to comic book movies in the 90s. Like I paid money. I went and saw Meteor Man in the theater because I wanted to see a superhero movie. I went and saw the Spawn movie in the movie theater. That movie was, 90s for sure. I used to rent
It
and
wasn't
watch.
terrible.
I would rent and watch the old Captain America, like from 1990 movie that they made, where the Red Skull was Italian. And
Yeah.
it was just terrible. The Dolph Lundgren Punisher movie, which is underrated. I actually thought it was pretty good. It's like it's a 1980s movie. You're getting that one is like 80s, maybe early 90s, and you if you keep that in mind, you're good. In fact, Cocaine Bear is a throwback. The movie just feels 80s to me. It like feels like the kind of movie you would have got in the 80s.
Honestly, I really liked Thomas Jane's Punisher.
Thomas Jane's Punisher was good. In fact, that short film they did was
Yeah,
amazing.
Laundry Day.
Yeah, that one was great.
Yeah. Made me really wish they'd make another one with him, but I guess not.
Well, they have a multiverse now. They can break whatever they want using it. So why not? Why not?
Yeah. The multiverse just means nothing matters.
I mean, I feel like once they bring Punisher into Disney Plus, he's going to be so neutered. He's going to use like Nerf guns. He's
But
going to
yeah,
pull.
I mean, the best thing I can think of to describe what you are talking about with Ant-Man is like you happened to be in the theater and it was playing out on the screen while you were there.
Ant-Man is the kind of movie that if it came on TV back when you had network television and not streaming services, you would just be doing your homework or something and it would be on in the background, and it would like be completely, and it would be exactly the kind of movie you would want to leave on in the background to not
Because you
disturb
know
you.
it's not going to
Yeah,
distract you from your work.
exactly. But it's something on to like have in the background so you can look up and be like, oh, Kang, okay, now back to doing my algebra homework. That's what Ant-Man would be good for.
Yeah.
and
Not strong marks.
and I'm thinking like it's a 71% drop. It's going to go down to 30 million second weekend for a running total of 165, and it's going to keep going. This movie still had a normal Marvel budget of like $200 million, which
And it
means,
had a 71% drop
yep.
from weekend 1 to weekend 2.
So they need to make like $500 million worldwide, if not more. I wonder if I have an official budget number for this. Let's see, because I had heard some places like 200 million, but let's see, budget. Movie details. Why is it so hard to find the budget for a movie? What do you think? What do you think? Want to guess the budget?
For Ant-Man,
Yep, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantum Mania.
250 million.
According to this, production budget $200 million.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, I was 50 million off, but
Yeah. So
if
I
you add in
figure
advertising and everything else, I'm sure they cleared 250.
they usually spend half the budget cost on advertising. So that would normally mean $100 million for $200 million movies. But here's the thing with these bigger movies, they make deals with like, product tie-in companies.
Yeah.
And part of the advertising budget spend is like, Heineken made a deal with Ant-Man. They had commercials where he was getting the alcohol-free beer, which is the stupidest thing in the world. If you're going to drink, like, beer is not a great tasting beverage. If you're drinking it, it's
Speak
because
for yourself.
would you drink it if it was non-alcoholic?
What, beer?
Yeah.
You remember I was in the Navy, right?
Yeah, I mean, aside from
Dude, when we
yeah.
went 45 days at sea, you take what you can get. They got non-alcoholic there? I'll drink it.
All right.
So I
Well,
can feel like I'm having a beer.
aside from like Shawshank over here, who had to feel like some sort of freedom by having a alcohol-free beer.
It's
Most
exactly like that.
I'm up on a roof with my inmates having a beer. Yeah.
Like I said, the only difference between Navy and prison is that in the Navy, you have a chance to drown.
True. So they probably had $100 million allocated for marketing. 40, 50 million of that, like half of it was probably based on tie-ins, product lines where they were advertising Ant-Man while also advertising their products. So they definitely probably spent 250 at least on this movie. So that means that it has to make $500 million worldwide before it would probably even be earning a dime of profit.
And it's
Minimum.
not looking like it's going to clear 200. Maybe.
It'll probably
Worldwide, it'll probably end up at around 300 tops.
the way opening week with Marvel movies, they usually do 2.5 times their opening weekend as their full all-in money. So
Okay.
in this case, the opening weekend was like 105 million. So that would be around 260 domestic as its end point. That's normal though. This is dropping harder than most of those Marvel movies. So
Yeah.
it's probably going to clear 200. Probably between 2 and 220 is probably a pretty solid it'll get to.
I mean, it only made 30 million in the second weekend.
Yep. The other thing is it actually has competition too. Like when Avatar was racking up all those wins the last couple months, nobody was releasing movies against it. Like this movie actually has competition.
Like Cocaine Bear.
I feel like Cocaine Bear actually snuck up on him because 30, that movie making 20 million and it might still gross higher. Like
I mean, 20 million in its opening weekend versus 30 million. It's not bad. It's not bad for a movie that probably didn't have nearly the budget.
Yep. Let's see. And I think next week we have another set of movies coming out. Like, what is that? February? It's not February. So March 3rd, Creed 3 opens next week. And you know who plays the villain in Creed 3?
No.
Jonathan Majors, the guy from Ant-Man and Quantumania. So he's gonna probably knock off his own movie next week.
Yeah, Cocaine Bear is looking at a budget of between 30 and 35 million, and their opening weekend they cleared 20 million. They're golden.
Yeah, because like I said, it's about 2.5 times, so it has to make like 75 million. And remember, this is just domestic.
Yeah.
Worldwide,
Yeah,
it
but
has
if
to
they
make
make
75 million.
2/3 of their budget in the opening weekend, they're good to go.
And it'll have solid word of mouth, where people will want to go see it for the crazy factor.
Yeah.
It's there's something to be said. Like, I'm going to see. What are you going to see? Cocaine Bear. Like, when I was going yesterday, my wife was like, "What are you going to go see for the theater?" I was like, "Cocaine Bear," and she's like, "Oh, really?" And she was like, "Maybe I should go see it." Like, just because, like, the name itself just projects fun time,
Yeah,
which is
it's
what you want.
it projects. This is going to be ridiculous, but I kind of want to see how ridiculous.
Okay, so check this out. So next week is Creed 3.
Mm-hmm.
The week after that is Scream 6.
Which is probably going to be terrible, but
Even a terrible Scream movie should open 20 million plus just based on legacy and being.
oh yeah, definitely. Like everybody loves the Scream movies
Then we
for
have the
whatever
week
reason.
after, and then the 24th of March is John Wick Chapter 4, which is going to be huge. It's going to be
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. That's one of those ones I kind of want to crawl out of my cave for
I might get you out to go see that one.
because I do love the John Wick movies. All three of them have been amazing.
So what, I mean, compare that to what Avatar had, where it just had nothing for the whole of January and beginning of February going against it. You could, I mean, I guess you could argue Megan, but it really had no real movie competition. So Ant Man is like, that's the other, Ant Man couldn't hold up to Cocaine Bear as competition. What's that tell you about Ant Man? He can't handle the heat, can't handle a coked up bear.
Oh, you know what else is coming out in March?
Is it the Dungeons and Dragons movie at the end? The
Yeah,
31st? Yeah,
March
you saw.
31st.
Yeah, I don't know that one is going to be good.
Oh,
So,
I have every suspicion that it will not be. But
well, the week after Dungeons and Dragons, Super Mario comes out, and I expect that one to just make bank.
well, here's two things, right? I do like Chris Pine, and even though I think it's going to be a terrible movie, it's a Dungeons and Dragons movie. I kind of feel like I have to go see it just so I can speak intelligently on why it is or is not good.
Oh, we got Welsh Republic here. Hey, Welsh, glad to see you coming out, hanging out. We were talking about how utterly dramatically terrible Ant Man's drop is and how it's got competition. So it is probably not going to be able to have what they call legs, which is continuing to make money and stretch out like how good your box office totals are. I don't know that it's going to get to that normal 2.5 times that Marvel movies usually make, which
I don't think it is. I think
nope,
it's going to fall off.
nope.
I mean, if you don't consider a 71% drop falling off already, I think it's going to fall off.
Let's see. In April, we've got Renfield. Oh, that little movie looks weird. That there was a trailer for that on Cocaine Bear, which it was.
I mean, if you're looking at what movies are coming up, bring it up on the screen, man.
Yeah, that's a. Yeah, look at me. I'm being a terrible YouTuber. New releases. Share. All right, we'll go back to, let's see. Here's where we're at right now. This is our current. You know the song by the Police, "King of Pain." Sounds familiar. I don't know if I know it by title. So, all right, we've got
I mean, I'm
Creed
familiar with the
3.
Police. I'm not
Yeah,
familiar with the names of most of their songs.
I know that everything she does is magic, and you shouldn't stand so close. And you know, Sting worked as a teacher, right? And you know that song's kind of creepy when you think about that. He worked at a school before before the Police got big.
Ugh.
Anyway, so now that I've ruined the Police for you, here's the wild card. Is this one going to make more or less than Ant-Man? I'm going to say less. But
Shazam? I hear it's already looking like it's going to fail, which I don't understand how people already know that when it hasn't even released yet, but apparently not good signs.
So they do long-term tracking where basically they poll people who go to the movies frequently to figure out um, what what they're going to spend their money going to see. And so the tracking for Shazam is that its opening weekend might be like 45 to 50 million dollars, which would have been great in 1999,
Yeah.
but but not so much in 2023.
Children of the Corn.
Yeah. Feel like that song would be good for the Avengers Kang Dynasty trailer. Probably. I know that like the Marvel trailers where they've incorporated popular music have actually been usually pretty good. You see it a lot with Guardians. They did it with Thor as well. You know, which but children, yeah. So that's the all girl little girl remake of Children of the Corn. That's
Are we?
Oh, you haven't seen the trailer for that?
I had no idea they were even making a Children of the Corn movie, let alone making one that's going to be all girls.
Let's see.
Because that always works out so well. I mean, everybody loved it when they did an all-female Ghostbusters, and everybody loved it when they did the the modern Charlie's Angels, and everybody loved it when they took the Suicide Squad and made all the girls get together and do their thing with Harley Quinn. Those are always such great movies. Super successful.
All right, you want to try see about
Oh, we're gonna
hopefully we don't.
roll the copyright strike dice.
Yeah, why not? I mean, it's Children of the Corn. They're going to strike us for promoting their movie.
Prepare to witness the horrific rise of the next generation of evil.
Well, I mean,
Oh, well, that makes sense.
apparently this is where the gingers go. They're the next generation of evil.
Yes. Women.
Based on the short story by Stephen King, comes the nightmare.
I mean,
Like
Stephen King is
never
fucking weird anyway.
He is weird.
seen it before.
I mean, I feel like I have seen Children of the Corn before, several times before. Except now we have the creepy ginger as the evil leader of the children.
I guess. As though this somehow makes it a better story, I guess.
Yeah.
So hard sometimes you can hardly breathe. But I can help with your...
Beware the little girl who says, "I know it sucks, but I can help." Like,
I don't know. These movies never interested me that much. I grew up next to cornfields, so I've already lived this.
He who walks. He taught me. He took care of me.
is this so they're gonna? This is like the prequel part where they show how they took out all the adults in the community before we got to. You remember in the first Children of the Corn, all the adults were already gone.
Yeah, I don't care.
So now I'm
This
going
isn't
to
getting
take
my
care of
attention
him.
at all. This is
Like
just
killing
weird.
all the adults.
For starters.
Oh, she said for starters, they have more plans. More plans. What do you think? Wait, was that the dude from? Wasn't he from Mad Max, like Beyond Thunderdome?
Maybe. I can't
He was
remember.
he was like the pilot guy.
I mean, I know I've seen that guy in other stuff.
I guess is that how they're going for legitimacy?
I don't know. Side note, like I don't know why they always have. I guess it's just an old trope, but like using a chainsaw against a person isn't going to work the way you think it is. All it's going to do is ruin the chainsaw. Like the chainsaw will work for about 2 seconds, and then it will be all gummed up because it's got shredded human flesh stuck up all up in it.
I
And it won't
believe
work anymore.
they make a specific tool for that called a bone saw that you would actually use because they use them in surgical suites.
Yes.
And it's designed because it, like you said, it has to have a specific design to not have a mechanical failure.
Yeah.
If you're doing-
Because that will seize up the engine and ruin the chainsaw almost immediately.
You lost! Come! This is our world now!
I feel like it's cheating when they put the kid in the gas mask to make him look creepy.
Yeah, this is.
Oh, there you go.
Also, is
they're
it just
shooting-
me, or is this little girl not that creepy? Like, I'm sorry, she's just not that creepy.
She looks too normal. Like, you remember the kid from that original Children of the Corn?
Yeah,
He looked creepy.
yeah. Like this one just looks like a pretty normal kid. Who, yeah, I mean, they have her saying some fucked up things here and there, but you're just like, okay, you do not strike me as creepy.
Yeah, because once we finish the trailer, I'm gonna flip to the other,
The OG,
the OG.
the OG corn cult leader.
Yep. Mm. Oh, that's dramatic.
Children of the corn.
Yeah, the lines aren't even delivered well. Like,
Yeah, let's see what's the end stinger. They still got like 20 seconds left. Oh, is this like? Yeah, nothing. Doesn't
Okay.
really. So compare that little like not so creepy ginger to that kid.
Yeah, see, that kid has creepy.
That's a creepy kid.
Yeah.
Like that kid coming at you from a cornfield, like with that little like preacher hat, wearing like a unnecessarily fancy suit.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I can see where they're going. Like, hey, we're gonna make her more approachable, which makes it more creepy that way. Nah, not with
No,
children.
that is not where they were going. Where they were going was, hey, we need more female representation in this movie. So we're gonna gender swap some of the characters or come up with this whole new story where we
I think
can
it's
have-
funny that that's where the Caucasian ginger girls end up, though. Like, hey, we
Yeah,
can't put
you're
them in
the
any.
super evil bad guy.
You're gonna we should do a Pawn Stars meme where like, hey, we wanted to be Little Mermaid. Sorry, the best I can do is Children of the Corn.
That is exactly what I was thinking too. Sorry, you can't be the Little Mermaid, but you can be the psycho girl who lives in the cornfield.
Oh, that's terrible. What kind of message is that for girls? That's
I mean,
not
the
nice.
ginger side is real.
It's a shame too. Gingers are usually nice people. Some of them have souls.
Some.
Some. They're the daywalkers. I remember when I played South Park, The Stick of Truth. That was like one of the trophies you could get on the Sony PlayStation. Was like if you fought like one of the ginger kids and they bit you, you would get gingivitis, and it was like a trophy. That was good. Let's stop sharing the creepy kid. He's gonna
Speaking of
he's gonna
which, I
drive
mean-
viewers away.
I know I talked about it on the Mad Dump on Wednesday, but apparently South Park is oh boy. They went after the Prince and Princess of Canada.
Oh, they did, and it was amazing. Did you guys watch the clips?
I don't believe we watched the clips because I mean South Park's pretty big. I don't know if putting clips up is going to do us okay. But man, was it funny and on the nose and perfect. And there's apparently now, Meghan Merkel or whatever is like their legal team is considering filing suit against South Park.
That's a terrible, terrible idea.
And this whole thing, apparently their approval ratings based on polling and everything
Gone down
have
like
sunk
12,
to an
20
all-time
points.
low. Everybody hates them.
Well, it's when the South Park guys can like crystallize something like in a way that other people can't.
Yeah.
Let's see if it actually works here. All right, this is somebody who has it on YouTube.
All Canadians are finding it hard to go on. All Canadians, that is, except for our first guest, the Prince and his wife. We want privacy.
Yeah.
There you go.
Stop looking at us. We want our
want
privacy.
So this clip, if it's the one let's see.
I'd say that your Instagram-loving bitch wife actually doesn't want her privacy. How dare you, sir?
Your Instagram-loving bitch wife.
What I feel bad for, I hope Amazon changes their mind because they have decided to not renew any deals with Jeremy Clarkson.
Which is the dumbest possible thing they could do ever. I think their two most successful shows in the history of Amazon have been The Grand Tour and Clarkson's Farm.
Clarkson's Farm is awesome. Anybody who hasn't watched it, who has Amazon Prime, should check that one out. It's super entertaining. And it teaches you so many lessons, like the bureaucracy. Like, did you watch the new season?
I binged both season 1 and season 2.
They shut his restaurant down within 2 weeks.
Oh, after the end of season 2?
Yeah, like the council put it so many violations, they shut it down again. It's closed permanently. It's permanently closed.
Of course it is.
And he made a good point. It was like, what is a farmer to do? Because they're supposed to diversify and get people to come in and spend money on farms, and they try.
Yeah, they're supposed to somehow monetize their freaking yield. A farmer has a yield. If they cannot monetize their yield, they cannot sustain.
Exactly.
But, whatever. You guys didn't like the idea of that farm would have saved all those farms. So if they'd have just had that restaurant, would have saved all those farms.
It could have saved the farms. It could have helped all sorts of people. And they wouldn't let it happen. It was terrible.
I mean, I hope everyone on that council knows that they're the biggest pieces of shit in Britain, except for, the prince and princess of Canada.
Oh, that was so good.
They'll always have that to aspire to, I guess.
They'll always have that. Yeah. Which is, speaking, because this is, so currently, I don't know if you heard this today, HBO Max is suing Paramount Plus over South Park.
Why?
Because HBO Max has the rights to South Park.
Uh-huh.
And to air it as a streaming service.
Right.
And apparently this goes back to, Comedy Central was a merger between a TV station owned by Warner Brothers and a TV station owned by Viacom. They both had comedy channels 25, 30 years ago, and they merged them into one cable channel, which was Comedy Central. And so the part of that deal was that Warner Brothers got the TV, because Warner Brothers, I guess, is the actual owner of maybe Comedy Central, whatever. And so they have the TV rights, and then HBO Max purchased the streaming rights for South Park. to stream all, like they have all 26 seasons.
Right.
And what Viacom has the movie rights. So what Viacom's doing is they are making movies for South Park, the like COVID special, the vaccination special. You may have heard of these ones.
Mm-hmm.
And they're calling them movies, but they're really just putting them on Paramount Plus as streaming specials. And so Warner Brothers is like, fuck you. We paid to stream South Park on our we're paying a lot of money to be the exclusive streamer of South Park, and we're getting people complaining because they have to go to Paramount Plus to see content, because the way South Park guys are doing it, those specials lead right into their seasons.
Well,
it's actually story to go right into their season.
As I said, once upon a time, cable companies all collapsed under their own weight because, yeah, sure, I got 800 channels, but I was paying $200 and watching 2 channels.
Mm-hmm.
The streaming services are going the same way right now. They're going to collapse under their own weight because there's too many of them. It's too fucking convoluted. It's amazing to me that like it gets so incredibly fractious. Even on the anime side, like there are certain animes I can watch in English on Netflix, but I can't watch them in English on Crunchyroll. And then there are other ones on Crunchyroll that I can watch in English, but they're not in English on Netflix. It's stupid. It's freaking stupid. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to have a subscription to HBO and Stars and Amazon and freaking, Disney Plus and Peacock and like, think about it. And it didn't used to be a big deal because it used to be all these streaming services were like, oh, well, I just, I'll pay $4 a month and I've got that streaming service. No, now it's like $20 a month per freaking service.
Oh yeah. And so where I was
So
part of
as far as HBO and everybody else, you can all go to hell because you're ripping me off.
Well, here's why they're ripping you off. Because they need the money to make new Lord of the Rings movies.
As long as it ain't Amazon, who knows? Maybe they'll make something decent.
I think, do they even have to do decent to make me feel better about it? I feel like it just needs to not be actively bad.
Now, here's the problem. Are they just doing like a remake of the original Lord of the Rings movies? Because
no, it's going to be new content. Like, so Warner Brothers.
I was going to say, because if you try to remake it and you like start race swapping and gender swapping all the characters and doing all the other dumb shit.
So they want to make multiple films based on the beloved Tolkien books. So you remember how we talked about how Amazon didn't actually have the rights to any of the good stuff?
Yeah, Amazon's didn't have the rights to pretty much anything in the Third Age.
Yeah, so this is who has all those rights.
Yep.
So they have the rights to the good stuff. So they can do like the fall of, what is it? Whatever. They can do all the stories. Like basically everything in the Silmarillion that is legit happened right in the Third Age leading up to the War of the Ring.
Mm-hmm.
They have the rights to do all of that. They could do a prequel show about, and I don't want to put ideas in their head. I'm sure they've already talked about these ones, but they could do like a prequel series with Aragorn when he was a young, ranger.
Dude, do a story about Tom Bombadil and make all the people who were so pissed that he wasn't in.
Oh yeah,
be happy.
You had to say his name, right? We're gonna get all the friggin' Lord of the Rings guys coming out the wazoo about Tom Bombadil.
Tom Bombadil.
Bombadil. That's how you get the Lord of the Rings guys to, get jazzed for it. It's Tom Bombadil.
Yeah.
But so, and they've got Peter Jackson apparently involved, along with his wife, who was, they don't call her his wife. They just say Fran Walsh, but it's his. I think that's his wife. And Philippa Boyens, basically all three of the people who were involved in the original ones. Now, looking back, it's amazing. Just like the Star Wars prequels started looking better after we got the Disney sequels, I feel like the Hobbit movies, and I think we've talked about this before, the Hobbit movies have gotten better because of how bad the Amazon show was.
Yeah, I would totally
So,
agree with that.
because that would be my harshest criticism of Peter Jackson, is that he took what should have been maybe one full like 2.5 hour Hobbit movie and stretched it into 3 2.5 hour movies.
I think it could have been 2. Like, it would have been hard to cram it all into one, but I think it could have easily been 2.
Basically, all the way leading up to Smaug attacking, and then splitting at Smaug's attack.
I would have done it kind of similarly to. I would have taken it all the way to defeating Smaug in the first one.
And then on the battle, basically the build up and battle of the 5 armies for the second movie.
Yep.
That seems like a pretty good idea. I still think you probably could have condensed it into one movie. But it might have been
it would have been breakneck pacing.
Yeah, it would have been probably a little bit too overclocked at that point.
Although the first thing you can get rid of is that scene in the river. I'm sorry.
What, when they were floating down in the barrels?
Yeah, and like the one dude popped his arms out the side of the barrel and was rolling along with axes in his hands. Like,
oh, you didn't think that was funny? Ha 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 ha. No kidding.
Listen, I'm okay with a little bit of comedy in my Lord of the Rings. I'm not okay with that level of absurdity, because that wasn't even the normal level of comedy that you get in Lord of the Rings. That was so far beyond.
It was a little
and it's always
ridiculous.
The one that comes to mind, because every time I think of the original trilogy, that scene, even when I was watching it for the first time, I was like, I mean, this is funny, but it's fucking ridiculous. Like, this doesn't feel like Lord of the Rings.
No, it didn't feel like Lord of the Rings until I watched Rings of Power on Amazon. Then I'm like, this is like legit Lord of the Rings.
I will leave.
No. So they're going to be making new Lord of the Rings, but they also said they're making new Harry Potter content. And clearly big old Zazzy, because they just had their earnings call, and this is where this stuff got announced. But big old Zazzy over there is super high on Hogwarts Legacy. That he announced that thing grossed $850 million already.
Sold over 12 million copies. It is number 1 on both the PS5 and Steam.
And whatever Xbox does, yeah.
I don't know if it's available on Xbox. It might be a PlayStation exclusive.
No, it's on the series, whatever the new system is.
Oh, is it? Let me check then. Right.
Yeah, $64.99 for the Series X. That's at Amazon. Yeah, that's apparently you can get it just for $60 on the Xbox One, which is I don't think it would run properly on an old system.
I mean, if it's on the system, it's been optimized for the system. Might not look as good, but it should run.
And they're saying they're going to do DLC after it officially launches on PS4, Xbox One, and it's also going to launch on the Switch.
Oh, according to this, actually, number 1 spot on Steam, Xbox, and PlayStation. So
it is a gargantuan hit. And it's the kind of hit that can, when I just brought up DLC, they'll be able to sell expansion packs and DLC shit for years and make even more monies. They will have all the monies. So Zaslav Zaslav wants to wait, and guess who? All who, and not to piss anybody off, but there's another person who's making a shit ton of money off of this, and her name's J.K. Rowling. So good for her.
J.K. rolling in royalties.
Yeah, she's just like, very few people legit have FU money in the world. She has FU money. She's just like, I could give a rat's ass about whatever people say about me on Twitter. So
850 million is it's a staggering number. Because video games don't usually gross that kind of money. They just don't. And this thing's only been out for a couple of weeks.
And there's a domino effect where more people start playing because people they know are playing, because Twitch streamers are streaming it. And
dude, I've looked at some of the footage from the game, and I'm just like, damn, that game looks good.
Yeah, I just don't have a PS5, and I don't have a PC Master Race system, so.
Oh, I'd probably have to dial it down a little for my PC. My PC's it needs a new graphics card, needs a bit of an upgrade, but it can run things fine.
That's why I don't get into the PC Master Race. It's just too much work to keep things.
I like that. I like min-maxing.
Oh, whatever. It's like so much new graphics cards just to play the next game that comes out. But you do have enough monitors set up so that you could really play efficiently.
It's true. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what my opinion on new Lord of the Rings is. I guess I'd have to see. Like, the one thing I will say is, like, yeah, I mean, it's probably a safe bet to do something with Lord of the Rings right now, because it couldn't possibly be any worse than Rings of Power.
I don't see. Here's the fun thing. The Rings of Power is so bad and so tonally and aesthetically different than the Lord of the Rings movies. I guarantee you that a huge normie population doesn't even associate the two together. And it's weird to say that. Well, like, hey, everybody knows that's Galadriel, right? And this and that. But you know what I'm talking about. Like, the average person, when they see the actual Rings of Power television show, is not going to mentally connect that to the Lord of the Rings movies.
They're not even connecting it to the movies in the slightest.
Exactly, because the look is so dramatically different. It just doesn't work together.
No.
So I think so. If Warner Brothers comes back and they get, they get the band back together, and they, so to speak, and they get Peter, Jackson and all the rest of those people to come in, and they set it so that whatever new content they make actually, like, say what you will about the Hobbit movies, when you saw those movies, you knew they were Lord of the Rings movies. Like,
yeah, I didn't think they were that bad. I really didn't.
There
were parts that I just couldn't stand, and there were other parts that I thought were pretty cool.
Yeah. Like, I especially loved the flashback where it was the dwarves' history when they were fighting, like, the orcs through the years. That was cool with Thor and Oakenshield.
I mean, I still loved when they did, that's what Bilbo Baggins hates. I thought that was hysterical and so well choreographed. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah. So I think with Peter Jackson back, we're making shows that actually look like what people think of when they think, I mean, for better or worse, when you think of, like, fantasy movies, you think of the Lord of the Rings movies from the year 2000s. That's the aesthetic people want. I also think this is something that the guys making Dungeons and Dragons movies need to understand. You can't cheap it out now. People expect it to look like Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, and then you've got I mean, what's Rings of Power gonna say to compete? Oh, well, we've got an all-female writers' room. We've got Peter Jackson, motherfucker.
Exactly. And you know what he'll be able to say? Our elves look like elves.
Yeah. Holy shit. My characters look like they were actually in these books.
Exactly. Like, let's see. Because here's one movie, like, here's like, just, you want to talk a spin-off they could do? Just right offhand, let me load. I am 100% muting it so that we don't get copyright struck when I show it. But because they've got all the rights.
Mm-hmm.
So let me stop. Present. Do you remember seeing this in the theater? Like, it'll come on hopefully because I hit play, and
I don't
it's
see
more-
anything. Yeah.
the actual like this part right here.
Yeah. And there's
I mean-
actual Galadriel.
Yeah, actual Galadriel.
Not, Supergirl boss Galadriel.
This opening monologue, which is approximately like 5 minutes,
Yeah.
does more Lord of the Rings story work than the entire Rings of Power show.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And
Like by the end of that opening monologue, you were invested already. Like you were ready. Like, let's do this. And then you rolled into the battle. Like,
yeah, like with the
you
elves
do
coming
not,
in.
I have not seen a more efficient and effective means of getting people up to speed on the lore and getting them invested in the story. Like this movie had you in 5 minutes.
And look at the orc designs. So good.
Mm-hmm.
The effects hold up. I mean, this is a shitty copy that I'm pulling from YouTube. But and look at the armor and the look of the elves.
Yeah.
So beautiful and perfect. Like, not beautiful like as people, but like just the armor. Like, it's sleek. It's exactly what you would aesthetically think goes along with the elves who populate the world of the Lord of the Rings. They're the most, they're an organic kind of one with nature population. Their stuff is going to look sleek and form fitting. I mean, I wish I could split screen the stuff that they put, fake Guy Ladriel in for the Amazon show.
Oh yeah, the horribly, horribly fake looking armor.
Yep.
Sometimes that looked like it was literally printed onto like,
Yep.
metallic looking clothing.
And this is how you do Sauron, man. That's how you, like, not some fake, like blacksmithy
Well, and then
guy.
like dude, they had like the Witch King with like the chain with the the mace, the spiked mace head that he was swinging around, and I was just like, what is this? What is this that they're doing?
Yeah, when he's like, look at that Sauron just wrecking house, man. This is, if they bring this aesthetic to whatever Lord of the Rings stuff they make, people will flock to it versus Amazon shit. And the fact that Bezos paid like $1 billion for that is just going to make me laugh even more when Warner Brothers comes in and snakes them. And it's like, hey, we're just going to get Peter Jackson to make, because Lord of the Rings was popular and beloved, but Peter Jackson is what made it mainstream for everybody to love, like his version of it.
Dude, here's the thing about Bezos. Like, don't get me wrong, dude is clearly he knows how to run a business. He knows how to run an online business. Based on a lot of the stuff and a lot of the decisions that I've seen him have a hand in, as far as their media side of the house, their streaming service, etc. He doesn't know fuck all about making a good movie, making a good show, or telling a good story. He might think he does, because he definitely seems to think he knows what he's talking about, but like he doesn't know shit about it. He really doesn't. Hell, most of the best shows they have, they've canceled or they're talking about canceling. Like, they had a great one back in the day. Did you ever see Alpha House?
I did. Wasn't John Goodman in that?
Yes. And it was a really good series, and they Can-X'd it.
Yeah, I mean,
I guess 'cause
the
it portrayed Republican politicians in a positive light. They didn't like that too much.
well, this is, I think, a good way to transition to one of the last things we like to look at every week, which is our streaming ratings. Because, I only see one Prime Video spot in the overall top 10, which is Shotgun Wedding. I don't even know what that is.
Never even heard of it.
Yeah. But so, You People was that new movie with Eddie Murphy and Jonah Hill.
Okay.
Ginny and Georgia continues its assault on tween brains.
Is The Walking Dead in its final season or something? I'm surprised
Yeah, so
to see it that
the
high.
final season dropped on Netflix.
Okay.
You know how it goes once it airs on AMC, like after a few weeks or whatever months, it goes to Netflix.
I see the that 90s show is holding strong. Looks like Last of Us is starting to slide a little.
It's actually, no, this is the overall number, so it's actually higher.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, because it remember, it didn't even clock on the overall that high. Last of Us was on the
Well, I have
acquired.
managed to see the first couple episodes of Last of Us so far, and it's not bad.
They're just following the game story, so
They're following the game They're following the game script. Like the only thing I can say is if you're not a gamer, this is perfect for you. If you are a gamer and you've played Last of Us, there's no reason to watch this show.
I enjoyed the first Last of Us game, so I don't mind that they're, I thought more people should have, before they did Last of Us 2 and kind of tainted my impression of the franchise.
Yeah.
I thought The Last of Us was a fantastic game.
Also, the girl they cast to play Ellie, I don't think she was a great casting call.
No, I think they needed somebody who was a little more.
Like Pedro Pascal, he looks like Joel. The girl playing Ellie doesn't look anything like Ellie.
Yeah, but she checks boxes, so she's
okay. Well, that sure helps me, see the character that you're trying to portray.
You know what I'm saying, but
I know.
I'm trying to who would have been a good Ellie? I don't even know if there's an actress around that would have
Yeah, I mean, I can't think of any off the top of my head, but
kid actors, unless you're watching the Disney Channel, you don't see a ton of them.
No.
So, and I think HBO just used this one also because this actress, she kind of had a cult following from Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I mean, she wasn't too bad.
Yeah, but so where we are. So overall, it's Netflix dominating. We got a couple HBO Maxes.
In all honesty, now that you mentioned that, I went and looked it up, and Maisie Williams would have been a good Ellie.
She's too old now,
I guess, but I mean,
Maisie Williams looks young, but how old is she now?
I think she's in her 20s, but she looks young and she's still pretty small.
Maisie Williams, let's see how old she's 25 years old. So I don't know, that's a little old for Ellie. Bella Ramsey, let's see how old she is. She is 19 years old, so not that far off.
Nah, and you can always You can definitely clear that up with movie magic and makeup and whatnot. You can definitely take, you can take 10 years off somebody pretty easy.
Damn, NCIS just is. I think that show has been on every single list we've looked at. I mean, can you think of one where NCIS hasn't clocked on the streaming ratings since we've been looking at them?
No, so far as I can tell, NCIS must have high numbers because old people just have it on their television playing 24 hours a day, 7 days a week while they walk around and do things in their homes. Like they just never turn it off.
Yeah. Why did my streaming ratings? I clicked the wrong button. They're streaming. Okay. All right. Originals. All right. So this one finally clocked for Peacock. I don't even know what Poker Face is.
Never even heard of it.
Wednesday is still on the list. I know how you feel about it.
Like I said, I know it's a hot take, but I think it sucks.
So I'm going to counter one point you made about Grand Tour and Clarkson's Farm being the biggest hits. Jack Ryan and the Boys are probably the biggest hits they've had on Prime Video.
Yeah, but I don't even know if I qualify that as like something that we need to concern ourselves with at this point because what season are we in at this point? 4?
Yeah.
So you've got one. Personally, I think the others are pretty damn good too.
Yeah. So here's something I'm going to show you though. Check this out. So this is the overall list. Netflix, HBO Max, Prime, they're all represented. This is the original list. Netflix, Peacock, Prime, represented. This is the acquired list. Disney Plus gets on there for one show, which is Bluey, which means that's the one, and they don't own Bluey. They just syndicate it in the United States because it's an Australian show. And then movies.
Wait. Go back. HBO Max, Last of Us is acquired?
Remember, we've talked about this. Any show that airs on HBO, when it goes to HBO Max, is considered acquired.
Okay, well, that's the dumbest thing I ever heard, but okay.
Because technically HBO Max licenses the show from HBO.
Yeah.
Isn't it? It's stupid, right?
It's that silly.
That's the same reason.
It's like Verizon and Verizon Wireless. It's like, you're all Verizon, motherfuckers. Why do you got to make this so complicated?
Yep, that's the same reason. Remember when House of the Dragon was in the ratings? That's where it would always be under the acquired.
Yeah. So HBO Max has Last of Us, Big Bang Theory, and Friends all in their clocking. Netflix has Walking Dead, Coco Melon, which honestly, Coco Melon, I don't even think should be up there. Like
it's just sitting kids in front of a TV to walk away.
Don't get me wrong. I get that the kids are actually watching it, but like just take it out of the runnings because it's not really this is in no way an indication of its popularity with the paying audience.
No, it's babysitting. It's the babysitting. And then we have
Grey's
Anatomy. So here's the funny thing. All right, so on the one hand you have babysitting, and on the other you have elder sitting.
Yeah.
Both
and you know what else I've noticed about this? You also have nothing original whatsoever on TV. Like none of these are original.
Well, that's because these are the acquired shows.
Yeah.
The original shows, but even the original shows, look, That 90s Show, which is a sequel show, Vikings Valhalla, which is a sequel show, Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan, which even though it's an original show is what, the 4th or 5th iteration of Jack Ryan on screen. So even these things are kind of taking advantage. Like Wednesday is an Addams Family. I mean, I get it.
Wednesday, Mayor of Kingstown isn't up there.
Yeah, it's Yellowstone. I don't know. Those are on Paramount Plus.
I don't know. I'm watching Mayor of Kingstown on Amazon Prime, so
through so I think Paramount Plus just doesn't pull the weight as it should have. And then on movies, look at this. So the only thing Disney Plus has is the Encanto is still on the list, and Moana. Like, so people aren't watching anything new they made.
No, and the whole thing about Encanto and Moana is like those numbers get padded out severely by kids who just put it on because they're doing something else.
And they like the music. It's the music. But what's interesting is if you're somebody who's looking at Disney being a well-run company, Disney spent $70 billion to buy Fox for the purposes of building out their streaming service to have content.
Yeah.
And the people who are watching Disney Plus are watching the stuff that they put out as movies that they would have already put out as movies. My argument, and I contend, Disney Plus would have basically had the same number of subscribers and the same value just putting their old library content out there, because people who liked Disney would put it, if they had put it out at like $5 a month to have Disney Plus and it had all your old Disney movies and the cartoons.
Yeah,
the same
and they're
number
not
of
even
people,
making new content for the
Yep.
service.
and you
They
wouldn't
would
have
have
had
had
to,
plenty of people.
and they wouldn't have had to spend any money on content, like $200 million on She-Hulk.
All
Like
they would have had to do is set it up for hosting and then host the stuff that they already had. And they'd be making money hand over fist because they don't have to invest anything beyond setting up the servers so that they can stream from them. Like,
Yep. And so how stupid, like if I was looking at the fiduciary responsibility argument against Disney, I would say how I know their board sucks and Bob Iger is a terrible CEO is that when they launched Disney Plus, they should have just launched it as the library access for Disney content, charged a low subscription, and not had to spend all this money to build it out. And then boom, you're done. You would have
you could have called it the Disney Vault and taken
Yes.
all the old movies and had them show up rotationally. Like, yeah, it's going to cost you this much and you can stream this, this, and this, and this. And then they go back in the vault and these ones comes out of the vault and then you'll have those to stream for a while. And they could have, I guarantee you, there would have been people who were just, yeah, sign me up. And they'd have never canceled their subscriptions.
Nope, because you would have been perfectly happy with it, because at a lower price point, a comfortable price point for that kind of access to just library content, people will do it. We've talked about how you fight piracy is by making something available at a price point that people will just not quite, be concerned about spending.
Yeah, well, piracy is on the rise because, like I said, it used to be all these streaming services cost $5 or less, and now most of them are pushing 20.
Yep.
So if you've got 10 streaming services, you're spending $200 a month again. Which is why most people stopped paying for cable, because they were like, why am I spending $200 a month on this?
I've told you my solution. I've built out my Plex library with my physical media, and I watch my own stuff now. I don't have to worry about it being pulled from, like, how Netflix has the, hey, leaving this month. This, you better watch it while you can. I go to used books, used books in movie stores. You can get the stuff cheaper there. You can get Blu-rays for like $2-3. So you just buy a few movies. You build, you make the digital copies of the content you own, which is perfectly legal, people. If you own the physical media, you can make a backup digital copy for your own use. Don't let any of them tell you you can't, because that's been litigated pretty thoroughly. Just like you can make your own music backups. Like if you own the CDs, you can make your own MP3s, right? People have known that for years.
Oh, yeah.
So you build your own, like there's no reason you have to be dependent on any. And then think about it. Like if you were going to spend $20 a month at Netflix to have access for this stuff, for that $20, you can go to a used bookstore or a secondhand place, buy you could get 2 or 3 movies a month and build out your library, and then you'd have access to it. If TV shows are what you want, you can buy old, DVD sets. The only problem that you run into, and it's because these guys have decided to kill physical media, is they've stopped putting newer television shows out on DVD and Blu-ray, which is annoying. Like,
Yeah.
for instance, Daredevil. Netflix put out season 1 and 2. I think they may have done season 3, but they might not have printed as many because I cannot for the life of me find secondhand copies of Daredevil season 3. Either that or people really liked it, so they kept season 3 and haven't sold it to like a used bookstore or something.
Right.
But it's, and that's the other thing. Like, at this point in time, there's no reason, like, all these media companies should have print on demand DVD sets. Why should I ever not be able to buy a DVD? Like, because you can hold them and just, we live in a world that's fairly easy to print a DVD set as needed.
Well, yeah, and the thing that bugs me about it is, like, I want to watch this show, and like back in the day, if you really liked a show, like a big one, right? Band of Brothers. Right? I spent $80 on the box set for Band of Brothers.
Worth
80
it.
bucks. Right? But now, if I want to watch Band of Brothers, they would want me to pay for a streaming service, and then I would have to spend 80 bucks over the course of 4 months to see the show. And then if I stop the streaming service, I still don't get to watch the show ever again until I pay for the streaming service again. Like, this is just a way to milk you for more and more and more money. And you, as the consumer, as the customer, are getting less for your money. They're trying to say that you get more options for your money, but you are getting less quality and less content and less delivered for your money.
Yeah, you definitely are. Oh, this is a good place to point, to kind of wrap things up a little bit. We've been going for a good hour and a half.
Yeah.
But that's what happens when we have stuff to talk about, like Cocaine Bear. So to circle back and summarize, we talked about watching Cocaine Bear. I went and saw it, and I think it is a completely entertaining movie that delivers exactly what you'd expect it to be. That is worth a matinee or cheaper price of admission. I think
We didn't
Slender.
look at one thing, though, did we?
We didn't look at what?
We didn't look at one thing.
What's that?
Cocaine Bear has a 73% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh, should we look at some of the reviews?
And ironically, it's got a 68% critic score. That's not terrible.
All right, let's see. Yeah. All right, because I had to pause my ad blocker because Rotten Tomatoes just does not like it.
Funniest movie I have seen in decades. Could not stop laughing. Don't listen to the negative reviews. The movie was incredible. Cocaine plus bear equals you can never go wrong.
There's Cocaine Bear.
Very entertaining movie, irreverent and exciting, pure escapism. I thoroughly enjoyed watching it. I loved the action, and that bear did not kill the children. Okay.
Well, that's a little bit of a spoiler. I don't know. They need to get better on that.
Left after an hour, not funny and not scary. Even if it got there after we left, it took way too long.
Okay, so here's a funny thing about that review. They literally have the bear kill someone within the first 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It's a pretty quick bear death. And
I wasn't
gruesome.
expecting Cocaine Bear to be unironically good, but it was. I can't wait to force all my friends to watch this.
Mm-hmm. Little gory, super funny, great movie. an hour and a
Don't
half of
know what's
absolute.
better, cocaine or this movie. Honestly, I've never done cocaine.
This is Ari. Here's a perfect review. Got exactly what you paid for. A bear on cocaine. It was fun and a fun take on an actual event that happened. The movie didn't take itself seriously because who would ever think that a wild animal would do drugs? Fun stuff and worth a watch. My only gripe is not enough cocaine. Like, people are having fun with it.
Cocaine Bear is a work of art, something out of a world we have yet to discover. This is something out of the fifth dimension. This is an extremely well executed film that will inspire generations to come.
Yeah, here, a stupidly funny film. You went to a movie called Cocaine Bear.
Yes.
And you're complaining that you saw a lot of blood and guts.
Yeah, like
that is
expected in a movie that is kind of, marketed as a horror comedy type movie about a bear on cocaine. I expected that you would probably see a lot of blood and guts. Like going in, the premise is that this bear gets all hopped up on cocaine and starts killing people. Like, that's the premise. Did you think that the bear was going to run up with chloroform and knock the people out? Or hit them in the head with a baseball bat so that they would have blunt force trauma but not bleed?
This would be like watching Freddy vs. Jason and writing a review that if you like to see lots of teenagers getting murdered, this is the movie for you, and giving it a half star.
I'm a huge Jason fan, but I had no idea that Jason would be murdering people in this movie.
Is that a fair review to say that Cocaine Bear is unrealistic? You're going to see a movie about a bear getting so hopped up on cocaine it murders people. It's not going to be realistic.
Yeah, I would probably Greg probably is you got to scroll back up. You went past it. That's probably the one that would most resonate with me. Can do without so much gore. Otherwise, it was very entertaining.
Yeah, I mean, I do think the gore is actually slightly less troublesome because they make it they lean into its, the black humor of it. We talked about that. But I can see how some people maybe didn't want it does linger on some gratuitous violence. So
yeah.
And I do agree that Ray Liotta was pretty solid in it. I wouldn't say suspenseful. At no point was it suspenseful. I mean, you knew what was going to happen every scene.
Well, I mean, it looks like the majority of people enjoyed themselves, if nothing else. It seems to get good ratings.
I think it is because, we've talked about this before. If you set an expectation and you deliver to that expectation, people will generally be okay with it.
Yeah.
It's if anybody's ever worked in a restaurant, right? What do they always tell you when you're a waiter? If you're really busy and you don't have time to get the drink order, you still should go over to the table and just tell them, I'm busy. I'm going to be right back to get your order, and your drinks. So I'll see you in just a second. Thanks for your patience. Now you've set the expectation. So people are okay with it. If you don't go to that table and you just let them sit there and look at their watch and look at their watch and look at their watch, they're going to feel like you screwed up. So, you might get the drinks to them the exact same time under both scenarios. Maybe they have to wait 5 minutes each time. But in that one little expectation set changes everything. In the other, when you don't acknowledge them, they don't. So what Hollywood needs to do is just deliver to people's expectations. When you subvert expectations, it should be the way Star Wars, they did it in Empire Strikes Back with finding out the Darth Vader was Luke's dad. You're like, that was subversion, but not, how do I put it right? It subverted what your expectation was, but it didn't like knock you for being a fan. It
Well,
didn't.
yeah,
Like,
and that's not what you want to do with a movie like Cocaine Bear. Cocaine Bear was following in the footsteps of Sharknado and Snakes on a Plane.
and
Like the title tells you everything you need to know.
And one of the complaints people ended up having about Snakes on a Plane is that it didn't actually live up to the hype so much because it didn't have as many snakes and it didn't like lean into it the way it should have.
Yeah.
You know what movie from the 90s did do a good job was Deep Blue Sea.
Yeah.
That one knew exactly what it was. It was a shark eating people movie, and it leaned really good into sharks eating people. That was did that one ever get, was that one, did Yeti or Mads put that one up? I don't remember.
Which one? Deep Blue Sea?
Yeah.
I thought that was Mad.
Well, it was definitely one we all watched together. I'm pretty sure you're right. I think it might have been Mads who put that one up. So if people like to go to Mad Barber Entertainment to check out movies with Mad, we watched Deep Blue Sea, and I think everybody liked that one. I think it was more excuse just for Mads to sing the LL Cool J song, but that happened.
Yeah.
Have you been going out on patrol? Did you guys do that the other day?
No. I saw that a stream went up, but I hadn't heard from Madden. I don't think he actually played.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe switch to doing Saints Row. I see one with Saint Row. I'm YouTube cheating on our show and looking at what has been posted up there.
Well, we got a little we got into kind of a part of the game where it's like really grindy because it's a little boring. I'm surprised people watch it as much as they do.
You know what? I think Deep Blue Sea must have been Yeti's channel. I don't see it now, unless it just didn't fit the aesthetic, so it didn't stay up.
I don't know. I know. Since we're talking about movies that were done well that way, do you remember the TV miniseries back in the 90s called The Beast?
Yes, I do. It was like a sea monster, right?
Yeah, it was like a super giant squid.
Yeah.
That show that terrified me.
Says the guy who enlisted in the Navy.
Yeah. It was still terrifying.
Why would you join the Navy if you have such a fear of sea monsters?
Because I have to face my fear in order to overcome it.
Fear is the mind killer.
It is. It is.
No,
Are we doing the Lord of the Rings opening again? What? Oh no, I see what happened here.
That was Dune. What, did something happen on her? Did we get copyright taken down or something?
No, I clicked. I must have paused at some point because I went back over to see where we were at on the stream, and I was seeing Lord of the Rings still.
Oh, it's good to see that you're really up on it. I'm kidding. We are not professionals at all.
Never claimed to be. But we're pushing 2 hours. I think we've said everything we need to say. It's about time to wrap it up.
Yep, another fun show, right? I think we did good. Entertaining. People who pay attention and really like good content and our connoisseurs will enjoy another one of our shows. And we'll be back next week to talk about whatever comes up then.
Yep.
All right. right. Well, bye, everybody.